Okay, it looks like the Montreal real estate market just woke up in a big way. While the rest of the country seemed to be taking a little nap in February, the March numbers for Montreal are in, and wow, they are showing some serious signs of life. But what does this mean? Is it a seller's paradise? A buyer's dream? Let's dig into the data and figure it out. So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the big picture of the whole Montreal market. Then we'll dive into the different kinds of homes. After that, we'll zoom out to see how Montreal compares to the rest of Quebec, and then get super local, pitting the city against the suburbs. And finally, we'll talk about what all this means for you. Ready? Let's jump in.
First things first, let's look at the three key numbers that really tell the story of what's happening in Montreal right now. These are the stats that have everyone talking.
5,045. That's our first big number. It's the total number of homes that sold in the Montreal area this March. Now, a 2% jump from last year might not sound huge, but it's a really clear sign that the market is shaking off that winter sluggishness and is definitely heating up for spring.
Now this is a big deal, especially for buyers. An 11% surge in new listings. That means way more for sale signs popping up and a lot more choice for people who are house hunting. It tells us sellers are feeling pretty good about the market, and it's a huge relief for buyers who've been dealing with a serious lack of options. Okay, so you might be thinking, more listings, so prices should cool down, right? Well, not exactly. The median price for a single-family home still jumped by a solid 7% from last year, hitting over $652,000. This tells you that even with more homes for sale, demand is still really strong, and it's pushing those prices up.
But here's the thing, not all homes are moving in the same way. The story gets a whole lot more interesting when you start to break it down by the type of property. So, let's do that. Just look at this gap. For the price of one single-family home, you could pretty much buy a condo and still have a huge chunk of change left over. This is the reality of the affordability issue in Montreal, and it's a big reason why people are having to adjust what their dream home looks like.
This table really lays it all out. You can see sales are up for everything, but the prices? That's where things get really interesting. Single-family homes and those multi-unit plexes? Prices are climbing fast. Condos, though? Their prices are only up a tiny bit. So that means the condo market is a much friendlier place for buyers right now, while the hunt for a house is still a super competitive sport.
So is this just a Montreal thing, or is it happening all over the province? To figure that out, we've got to zoom out and see how the city's numbers stack up against Quebec as a whole. So the trends are pretty similar across Quebec. More listings, more sales. But look at the prices. Montreal is really in a league of its own. Not only are the prices for single-family homes way higher here, but they're climbing almost twice as fast as the rest of the province. Montreal isn't just part of the story, it's practically writing the whole book. All right, now let's zoom in even closer. Because in Montreal, the real estate market you experience can be completely different depending on which side of the bridge you're on. It's really a tale of two markets.
Just to get our bearings, here's a map of the whole Montreal metropolitan area. For this comparison, we're going to focus on two key zones: the island of Montreal, right there in the middle, and the South Shore, which is one of the biggest and busiest suburban markets.
And here you have it. On the island, the market's just kind of simmering along. But in the suburbs, it's boiling over. A 12% jump in sales on the South Shore. That tells you everything you need to know about where the action is right now. And it all comes down to that search for more space, the flexibility of remote work, and, let's be honest, an affordability crunch that's pushing people to trade city lights for a backyard.
So, we've looked at all these numbers, all this data. Let's bring it all home. What are the big takeaways from this March market snapshot? What does it actually mean for you?
Okay, so what's the bottom line? If you're a seller, it's a great time to be on the market. Prices are strong. But with all those new listings, you've got more competition. So you really need to price your home right and make it look its best. Now for buyers, all that extra inventory is fantastic news, but you've still got to be ready to act fast, especially if you want a single-family home. So yeah, the market is a bit more balanced, but it's still very, very active.
So here we are kind of at a crossroads. Will this big wave of new listings finally calm down these rising prices? Or is the demand just so strong that it's going to keep fueling the fire? I guess the summer will tell the story, but one thing's for sure, the Montreal real estate market is never, ever boring. Thanks for tuning in.